meets the sea. Catching fish is where I'll be, come rain or sunny skies. I'm gonna grab my fishing line, yes, we're taking out some time. That's fishing. This has been a fishing tale, just like Jonah and the whale. No place I'd rather be. Yes, we're casting out a line, everybody's feeling fine. That's fishing. That's fishing. Yeah, that's fishing.
On to the fishing.
Hi and welcome to That's Fishing Season 6. Now today we're down at Port Anglesey on this beautiful surf beach with Mick from Hooked on Bait and Tackle. Now this is the start of a new season for us. Now Mick promised to take us out last season, Season 5, but the weather was wrong, everything was wrong, the tide was wrong, it was blowing, it was just, everything was wrong. So he's promised. What a beautiful day to start off Season 6 of That's Fishing, and welcome once again. Well viewers, we got Mick here from last season, and mate, we're here, we're on the beach, we've finally done it.
Finally come through. The weather's a lot better than what it has been, so here we are.
I'll tell you what, it's pretty good weather down here, I'll give you the tip. Now mate, we're going to talk about rods and reels today and what sort of rigs we're doing, so I'm going to hand over to the expert.
Well, when we're surf fishing, we'll try and do a couple of different rigs so we can spread it out a bit. But first off, we'll talk about the reels.
Yep.
That one there is one of the long cast reels that Shimano produce. As you can see, she's got a very, very large spool. That bit there. When we're casting, we don't have to punch in a huge amount of effort there to cast. It'll just naturally fly off and give us great distances. Especially, well, that's really important on when shallow beaches like we are here today. We're going to need a little bit of distance to land up into the gutters. That's going to allow us to do that nice and easily.
Now you've got this, oh geez, real silky white line, and
oh, it's a fantastic line. It's a really, really slick line.
it is.
And it allows it to fly off the reel even quicker than what a standard mono will. So again, it maximises our distance without having to use
So
braid.
you just slide through all the runners and everything just that much quicker again?
That's exactly right. Makes it nice and easy to retrieve. As you can see on the reel, it lays perfectly straight and even. So again, everything's to allow it to get those massive distances we need.
Now if anyone's after this kind of line, what's it actually called? Or if they walked into your shop, what's it actually called?
It's one of the new line systems lines that they do, so it's just called line systems.
Line systems, yep, okay.
And that's the deluxe version of the line they do.
And what weight are we looking at this one?
£20.
Just £20?
Yep, it's as heavy as you need to go on the beach.
Yep.
And we use the same pound whether we're chasing salmon or even chasing the bigger gummies later on this month.
Yep.
We'll just run £20 line, but we'll adjust our leaders. We might jump up to a 40 or a 60 pound leader when the gummies are on the beach. But your £20 main line is more than ample.
And what kind of rod are we running today?
We're running some graphite rods. That one there's a 3-piece rod that Shimano do. It's called Narrow Wave. Again, lightweight, so it's a rod if you need to. Hold on to it all day. Again, designed for casting massive, massive distances. And we'll run sinker weights right up to 5.5 ounce if we need to.
All right. And what gone from that one and the reels here? That's an 800?
Yeah, it's just a smaller strap.
8,000 I should say.
Yeah, just a smaller reel, just a conventional spinning reel.
Yep.
It's also a good outfit if we want to put a heavier laser lure on, like a 50 or 60 gram weight. We can whack that on there and cast quite comfortably as well.
Now, I see one of my favourite reels just here.
Yeah, that's a Stella. I pulled her out of retirement. She very rarely gets to run on the beach, but we've pulled her out of retirement. Just an awesome, awesome, awesome reel. You cannot beat them.
Now, I have to say, I've got 2 of these reels at home, and I still haven't got them wet yet. I know, it's embarrassing.
I know, we've got to get it out there.
We are going to do it, but
we've got this one laid up with some braid, just so we can see the differences between braid versus some of these monos on the beach as well. Braid allows us to cast massive distances as well. Yep. The other good thing about the braid on the surf beach, especially where we've got a little bit of side drift creeping across the beach, she won't tend to push along the beach as much. So she'll hold a line without having to put horrendous size sinkers on there.
Okay then. So the same size sinkers again?
Running around the 3 to 5 ounce depending on conditions.
Now also, mate, you got a bit of an overhead here.
Oh, this is one of my favourites.
I'm not using that one because
No.
I'm good for tangles here, so I'm definitely not going to be using this one.
Yeah, well, that's a Trinidad DC. It's a big reel, holds a huge amount of line, massive distances again. Surprisingly enough, the guys who can use these reels well will outcast your conventional egg beater quite easily.
Really? Okay. I noticed they've got the same sort of line on it as well.
Same sort of line on there, no level wind on there, so again, everything I can do to maximise distance is what we're looking for on these. Yep. And we might even let you have a go a little bit later.
No.
They are, once you get the hang of them, they are an easy way to fish, but just getting the confidence levels.
He reckons he's going to give me a go, so if I bird nest it, guess who's fixing it?
It'll be my problem to sort out, but I've got a bit of confidence in you, you'll be right.
Not going to happen. Well, Mick, everyone asks us about rigs. What are we doing in the way of rigs? I know we've got some surf poppies here, but...
Yes, we're going to run a paternoster rig. It's a double paternoster rig. So as you can see there, you've got your surf popper up on top.
Yep. And then we move down.
Move down to your hook.
Down to our hook here.
We're generally running... Look, I start off with a 1/0 sort of hook, and then depending on size of fish, move up or down there accordingly.
Yep.
But a 1/0 is a good general size hook if you don't know what's floating around.
Yep.
And then we run a sinker. These are called a rocket sinker. A little bit different to the conventional star sinker that most people would be used to.
Yep.
As you can see, she's weighted like a torpedo. So it's designed, again, we were talking earlier about maximising distance. It's designed to allow us to cast big distances. The other really good thing about that style of sinker is you'll notice that the face of it's quite small, whereas conventional star sinker, you've got a lot of drag when you're pulling that back through the water. These guys don't drag too much.
So yeah, I'll bring it up a bit closer, guys. So you know, for those who don't know, rocket sinker. All right, now the other one that we're talking about today.
It's another method that works really well on the surf.
Yep.
And it's just a surf snatcher, or most people know the snapper snatchers. We also use them on the surf as well. They work particularly well on salmon, gummy sharks as well, when you're using the larger ones.
And again,
the rocket sinker on that as well.
All right. Now, do we put bait on these? Because people...
Yeah, look, on the snatchers, yeah, definitely put a little bit of bait. We can run a little strip of squid, and we don't need to be too fussed on how we put it. It's just a matter of threading it through and just working it up onto your hook. Like that. Leave plenty of tag hanging around. You've got your little glow bead there as well.
Yep.
And she'll just sit and fluff and roll in the surf and act as an attractor. A little bit of smell there with your strip of squid, and hopefully we get a salmon connecting to it.
All happy days. Simple, and we've got a bit of white bait too.
A little blue bait or white bait, depending on what we're doing. I might do that on this one, it's a little bit easier to do. Once again, it's just a matter of grabbing your hook, just starting just below the head and piercing it through and rolling it round and easing it back out again, making sure you've got plenty of hook exposed because we want a good clean hook up. We then come back up towards the end of the blue bait or white bait if you're using white bait and roll on 2 little half hitches. And then you've got a beautifully presented bait to go and run in the surf, and hopefully you'll get a nice salmon eat that.
Beautiful. All right, let's get out and do it.
Let's catch a fish.
Yeah, that's fishing. Yeah, that's fishing.
Come on. Well, there we go, guys. I'm the first one with a fish. Only because Eric's not here today. Now, if Mad Dog Morgan was here, he'd be the one with the first fish. G'day, mate. How you going? Sucks to be you at work today. Not big enough. Cheers. Well, viewers, Mick's out there, casting out. He's got that little coloured lure on, but we're going to talk to him a little bit casting at the moment in the surf. So we'll see if we can catch a couple of fish first. So we'll get over there in just a minute.
We're just trying to get the distance to cast out along this line here so we can try and get a fish on a lure. We're just working an edge of a sandbank, moving out along a gutter. So usually your bigger salmon will act as predators. Anything that gets smashed up on the sandbank gets pushed across. Hopefully we'll get a good fish hook up on this lure. Just a matter of whacking it out. Might start peeling off to your left-hand side, and we're just working the lure back through that. And don't sit on the same lure all day. Sit and change colours, because we're using a bright green at the moment, which does work. It's one of my favourites, but at times it doesn't work, and we need to chop and change the whole way through. Alright, so it's a little IMA lure that we're using here today. It's a bright green one, so it will stand out here in the surf. You'll notice she's also got a little bib at the front that allows it to dig down without getting it pushed around too far in the surf. And usually the salmon are a bit shy about coming up to the surface. It's a good way of pulling a fish without tumbling over.
Good way of losing a salmon.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Or any better way that we should be casting?
Generally when they're casting, it's just a matter of getting you feel it in the rod, you feel that balance that you need for it. So I get mine up quite high. Single finger on the rod, and it's simply just coming over and letting the rod load up and fire out. And that little lure there, we're probably casting, that's almost down to my backing, so we're probably casting that a good 50 odd, 60 metres. That's the advantage of braid, as we were saying before.
It's been real slow up until now. I've caught one fish.
One crab.
One crab. Sad.
Very sad. We'll keep working at it though.
The day is but young. Night is falling.
A little salmon for the day. Take it on the snatcher, something a little bit different. The last one was on a popper. This one's been taken on a surf snatcher. It's a nice little fish. We'll send it back and we'll try and catch another one. See how we go.
He had to outdo me, didn't he? Yeah, he was only second. And it's a big one. Oops, back that pot up. Didn't he?
Proverbial one more cast before we pack up and go home, and we'll lay another fish.
There we go, guys. Oop. Bit of sand for a bit of grit. Grip, I should say, not grit. There you go. Beautiful little fish. That's all we caught today. So we've caught about 3 or 4 of them today. Not much happening. Anyway, doesn't matter. We'll throw him back, and this rotten mongrel had to outdo me, didn't he? Okay.
One more last cast. We'll
One
sneak
more
another.
last
Yeah,
cast.
we'll sneak another cast. Yeah.
I snuck it down the back of his shirt. Would he notice? Now we were packing up, Sammy, on the camera. Oop. Anyway, he's holding the GoPro, you're holding the camera, I'm holding the fish. Happy days.
The last cast has turned into the last 4 or 5 casts here. This is getting dark, we've got some good salmon coming up on the beach.
Well done, no foot on the spinner. And again, on the red one though.
Oh, red surf poppers done damage again.
So, red surf poppers, whoop. Chasing it around everywhere. There we go. Red ones again, mate. All about red today. Done. One most important thing to remember while we're down here at the surf, take your rubbish home with you, everybody, because the cleaner we leave this area, the better it is for everyone else. Just my little advice for the day. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's fishing. Yeah, that's fishing.
Hooked on Tackle Talk with Big Mick. Welcome to Tackle Talk for That's Fishing. Now on today's Tackle Talk, we're talking about surf fishing and different kinds of lures. Now the little amount of surf fishing I've done, I've always just used bait. Now Mike is telling us a lot of other options here, isn't he?
There's a huge amount of options out there on the surf. It's not just a matter of running baits. And when you're running baits, you can run surf poppers and things like that. There's nothing more I enjoy is grabbing a spin rod, walking along the surf and just casting for salmon. Good thing about that is I'm not just stuck in one spot, and I can walk and chase the fish and find out where they're sitting up or where they're schooled up along the beach.
So what you're saying is we get our normal surf fishing rod and reel, you bait all up, throw it out, let it sit there, and then we'll grab a small
light spin rod,
and we walk up and down the beach with some different lures. A couple of lighter reels, what are we doing with them, mate?
When the tide starts to move up, it's going to allow a nice gutter to form in close to the beach. The wind's dropping off, we should be able to cast a few heavier slugs and some soft plastics and hopefully produce some salmon on the lures as well. It's not just a bait fishery, we can comfortably do it with your lures.
Yep.
You're looking at 8 to 10 foot type rods, really, really light. There's no weight in these rods at all, and again, it just allows us to cast lightweight objects long distances on the beach.
Now what were we going to show us in the way of a couple of different lures?
Traditionally most guys on the surf will just run your standard metal slug. You know, everyone's familiar with your lasers and your Halcos and your, all those traditional style of lures.
Yep.
They work really well. High speed retrieving, just whack it out in the surf and just pull back at 100 miles an hour and your salmon will get onto them.
Yep, okay.
With the way graphite rods are now going, our long cast reels in conjunction with good braid, we can then run different styles of lures out there. This little fella there is just a little stick bait. And it's not a lure that we traditionally run on the surf. It's quite slender, still quite good.
See, very thin. So it goes through the surf quite well.
Casts exceptionally well, especially in days where I'm casting out in the heavy wind. Yep.
As you can see, I'll show it, not imagine.
No bib on there, it's just a metal slug, and all we do is cast that out.
So there's no bib. So when we say bib, that little bit that sticks down there that keeps the fish diving downwards all the time. That's what you're referring to.
That's exactly right. We just do a stick motion on the rod and just get that lure to kick in and out along the surf, and especially when fish are being a little bit fussy and they're not in a hunting mode where they're not going to race down and chase after something, that style of lure does work very, very well. There's various options on them.
Looks like a pilly, mate.
It does look like a pilchard, yeah. Works very, very well. That's another version of that style of lure.
Oh, okay.
Works on the same principle, it's just a different shape.
Different shape, as you can see. Up, and I'm hooked up, so I won't take that out of my hand just yet. You see, different shape. It's shaped totally different as well. And it feels like it's actually a bit more weighted at the front end.
A little bit more weight on it. It's a different style of lure.
That's, at the front end, it's like a bit extra heavy weight there.
That style of lure I like using on deeper beaches because if I just open my bail arm on that or give that line a bit of slack water, instead of just falling head first into the bottom, she'll actually lay and flutter all the way down, and she'll often get taken on the
So
tape.
what you're saying is that it sits there and just does that?
Just flutters, on the way down. Okay. So it's a productive lure to use when you've had a large follow. You can see the salmon tracking through. It's not quite hitting it. You can just stop, let it pause, and just allow it flutter through.
Okay.
Another style of lure that we used is your bib lure. Now, traditionally, we don't use bib lures on the surf because there's no weight to them. They're very hard to cast.
Okay.
A lot of Japanese companies are now producing lures. If you ever feel that, Brian, she's quite a heavy lure.
Actually, it's quite heavy, yeah.
Now, we can punch that lure long distances in the surf. And the good thing about it having a bib there, unlike a traditional metal slug that will tend to roll and push through the surf.
See, like that. Whoops. And it's got the little bib there that we were talking about just before. And it helps it. And it is actually quite heavy. Yeah.
That little bib will hold and track through. So even if I've got a tumbling surf coming through, instead of getting pushed and washed all over the place, it will hold its line and work really, really well.
Okay.
That particular colour in that green is one of my favourites. It works exceptionally well. It's not a traditional colour that you go and put on a beach, but for whatever reason, it does the job very, very nicely.
Oh, excellent. So there you go, guys. That's them. I'll try not to hook myself up again. So for any information, go to that'sfishing.com.au and follow the links. And that's Tackle Talk for this week. Well, guys, we've come to an end of a good day out here. We've been out here, we've talked about our rods, we've talked about our reels. Mick caught a forward walking crab like Eric did. I've caught a salmon, then he popped me. He went and caught another salmon. So, look, anyway, besides all that, we've had a really good day here. Hasn't been as productive as we wanted, but doesn't matter. It's been a good day. That's fishing.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So, oh well, it's the start of season 6, I suppose, new season. But anyway, let's get going and on to the next show, and we'll give up here while going's cool. Yeah. Anyway, guys, until next week. Mick from Hooked on Bait and Tackle, myself. No worries. Oh yeah, by the way, don't forget to go to that'sfishing.com.au and you find this bloke on the webpage. I'll be there. See, never give me a rod, I lose fish.